Yes, you read that title correctly. Josh Allen has been covering up for the piss-poor coaching for the past couple of years. Yo ho ho, Bills Mafia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Show. As always, your host, Dan Mitchell. Now, say for example you're new here, I'm an avid member of the Bills Mafia, and I regularly put out videos about the Buffalo Bills and the NFL on a regular basis. So if that is your cup of tea, I highly recommend subscribing to this channel, and as always, smashing the ever-living out of that like button. Yes, I'm fully aware the lighting is absolute doo-doo right now. I am traveling. However, I needed to talk about this. I really did. I was scrolling through Twitter the other day, and I saw this amazing tweet thread from Michael Florio, who really painted an entire picture. Because I'm sure a lot of us are getting sick of hearing Josh Allen say, oh, that starts with me, that starts with me, that starts with me. But at the end of the day, does it? Does it really? And I think that this tweet thread, which we are going to read word for word, I know, Dan, such unique content right here, brother, really paints the perfect picture of where this team has gone from a coaching perspective. Now, right before we dive into that, though, I do need to give a giant shout out to today's sponsor, and that just so happens to be BetUS. BetUS is hands down the #1 sportsbook, if you were to ask me. When it comes to money lines, point spreads, over-unders, BetUS is hands down the place to be. Best part about it is that they are hooking my audience up. With the second that you sign up, they're going to give you a free $50. And whenever you do decide to put some money in as a deposit, they're going to match that all the way up to 125%. It's basically free money. And say that you guys are the football gurus that you portray yourself to be in the comments section, then you should win big. So make sure you check out both of those links in my description and start gambling away, baby. It's championship weekend coming up. So Michael Florio is literally spitting some knowledge, and let's take a look at this thread together. Yesterday I said that Josh Allen covers up a lot of bad for the Bills, and people were quick to say he's not without blame, and obviously no quarterback is when their team loses that way. But I don't think people realize fully how much he has covered up for people in that building. Sean McDermott likely isn't going to go anywhere, but for someone whose top qualities are leadership and defensive prowess, he always seems to get outcoached in the big games, and the defense always seems to be the ones crumbling. The last 4 playoff exits blew a multiple score second half lead, blown out by Kansas City, 13-second kickoff, and yesterday. The defense can bully bad teams in the regular season, but can't stop a good offense when they have to. At this point, it's a trend, an inexcusable one at that. Brandon Beane gets such high regard for finding Allen, but that 2018 class was the last of his that had any Pro Bowl players. So much capital has been wasted on undersized D linemen who can't generate pressure against the backup offensive line. They drafted a cornerback in the first and were too scared to use him for most of the year despite the secondary issues. The big addition to offense was a pass-catching running back, only to never throw the ball to running backs. And the offensive line got ignored despite clear issues. And that's the frustrating part. It's like there was no real plan. The game plan didn't fit the personnel at all. The Bills' receiver room had 2 receivers who could win outside or downfield and a bunch of slot guys, and then operated an offense built around the deep ball. There was no quick pass aspect to the offense all year. Slot receiver role vanished, and Allen was expected to scramble to avoid pressure and find someone deep, which is even harder when your best deep threat has questionable hands and routinely drops well-placed ones, like yesterday. The Bills hired a first-year play caller in the most offensive-driven era in NFL history, right in their championship window, despite one not having won a Super Bowl in 30 years. Just short-sighted moves that never seemed to gel with any sort of action plan. There was never any situational football with this team. Yesterday, on maybe the biggest play of the day, 3rd and 2nd, they threw 40 yards downfield and then punted. It largely felt that Dorsey would pick a play at random, and not just yesterday. This was all year long. They can out-talent teams in the regular season, and Josh Allen is a unicorn who can play hero ball and save the day most of the time. But say that he's having an off day, this team has no shot of beating any actual good team. This roster is very flawed, and now it's aging with little cap. Just take Allen off this team, and I'm not sure they're 500. And turnovers have been an issue, but that's to be expected when Allen is asked to match Mahomes and Burrow stats with his arm while also being the team's RB1. It's a ton to ask of any player, especially with this play call. The approach to building this team needs to change. It can't be invest in the defense and Allen will carry the offense every game. If McDermott and Frazier can't figure it out with so much invested into it, change gears. Say there was ever a time to change, it's now. The defense has been built around 6 players and 2 are free agents, and Poyer and Edmonds. 3 are working back from a severe injury, White, Vaughn, and Hyde, and the other is Matt Milano. I don't know how they work around these contracts, but they have to try and mix it up. Start loading up around Allen and trying to outscore everyone. It's basically what they have to do in the playoffs. Anyway, I'm frustrated, as I'm sure many Bills fans are right now. Will 100% be back next year, but really hoping we see the changes before then. The first time I read that thread, my blood was boiling. The second time I read it, it really started to resonate with me amongst multiple points. Number one was the fact that he is absolutely right. Why the hell, as much as we love Josh Allen, as much as we know his abilities, why did he have so much input on who the offensive coordinator was? I know at the beginning of the season, everybody was super happy about the fact that, oh, this is going to be continuity, consistency. He's familiar with the program. This guy's never called offensive plays in his entire life. And as that tweet thread just ended up pointing out, is exclusively the fact that not a first-year OC has ever won a Super Bowl in the past 30 years. The odds are definitely not in our favor. Second up, the damn offensive line. I feel like we just don't give a fuck. We just simply don't give a fuck about completely making that work. The entire offensive game plan is Allen just scrambling around and throwing like Hail Marys down the field and hoping that Gabe Davis, who has turned out to be as inconsistent as they come, can't bring one home, and Stephon Diggs is more than likely being double or triple covered. And say that he's not, like Allen literally has no time to go through all of his damn progressions because his offensive line is essentially Swiss cheese. Then it comes down into the defense. And let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, Poyer is not coming back. He's not. In fact, his wife ended up tweeting out today that they were packing up the full house. I think the writing is on the wall at this point. I think he wants out. I really think that he saw the writing on the wall last year when we didn't even want to bring up any sort of negotiation of bringing him back. So we really need to start answering some questions, because the fact that our team cannot get pressure on backup offensive linemen in games that mean the most, Burrow was literally sacked once. He was sacked once. He's not a mobile guy. There were so many opportunities. Complete muff. Stop drafting undersized defensive linemen and start proving to everybody why you were this apparent defensive genius. Now, I know the Buffalo Bills have absolutely zero excuse for only scoring 10 points this past Sunday, but a lot of changes need to be made. If it's me, both coordinators, absolutely gone. And you know what? I've had a couple of nights to sleep this off. I really have. But say, for example, that both of them are still on the coaching staff next year, then the Buffalo Bills are fine with being first or second rounded in the playoffs every single year, right until our cap is just too much for us to even be able to handle. I know that Brandon Beane is considered to be a wizard as far as moving money around, but at the end of the day, it's going to catch up to us. Look at the LA Rams this year. It happens. So my biggest takeaway from this is, yes, there were some plays that Josh Allen should be able to make. However, if I had to put any blame on this season, on this playoff run by itself, it hands down goes down to coaching. The only reason the Bills had the record that they did, seeded the way that they did this season, was simply because Josh Allen has this innate ability to improvise when plays break down. And let me tell you what, if you watch that offensive line, plays literally broke down 95% of the fucking time. So drafting needs to improve. Dorsey and Leslie Frazier need to be nowhere near this damn team. Offensive line, and start using our running backs, for the love of God. We have a quarterback, not a running back. So, okay, that's going to be my rant for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, smash the fuck out of that like button for me. And before I let you go, you better always remember, let's go Buffalo.